It's time for another takeover.
Shoot him, Kevin.
Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock and this is a Raid Shadow Legends video. So we're doing another takeover today. You're probably going to see a couple of these popping up over the next couple of weeks or months. I'll be doing takeovers for members of my clan, Roadblock's Vanguard, right here. So it's just a way of saying thank you to my clan members for all of their hard work and their patience with me during the free-to-play challenge when I wasn't active and really contributing to the clan as much as I should have been, especially as the leader. So a little bit of a thank you to them is for me to do some takeovers for players that are looking for takeovers. So we have Iron Balls here. We'll be doing a takeover for them. And so let's get started. Okay, so we're going to be taking a look at Chimera today. So let's go ahead and hop in there and take a look at the current team that they're running. So the quest is for Nightmare, and I've already taken a little bit of a look at the account here, and I think we're going to run into some pretty big, no pun intended, but roadblocks because we don't have Lydia on this account yet. And I actually have a video I've recorded. Let me know if you guys want to see it. It's a Chimera guide. I'm a little apprehensive about it because it doesn't really focus on doing the trials, but it's more about just getting to higher difficulties, and a big crutch of that is Lydia. But let me know in the comments if you guys want to see that, and subscribe so that you guys can see that video when it comes out. Stop right there. Click the link in the description right now to get a free legendary Elenaril and 3 free amazing epics as you level up. Here are the exact steps that you need to follow. Step 1, log out of Plarium Play on PC and uninstall. Step 2, click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Step 3, launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Step 4, go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Here we go. You'll find Elenaril here, as well as Uugo at level 10, Tagoar at level 20, and Rector Drath at 30. Don't forget to use the promo code Supreme6 to get yourself the awesome Supreme Galek. This is an amazing account start in Raid. So click on my link right now and follow the steps. But for what we're looking at here, we've got some interesting champions to play around with on the roster. So what I wanted to do first was kind of demonstrate to Iron Balls here that they put Marishka in for healing, right? And I wanted to show you one of the biggest little kind of secrets here. This is my team. I just swapped over to my account. You'll notice I don't really have any healing in this team, okay? My heals come from the Owl. They come from Gwendolyn. Let me make sure she's got gear on her because I swap her gear around. She doesn't. Okay, so I swap my gear back over to Gwendolyn. She is an Affinity Breaker just because it's so important that I get this leech to land. But I just wanted to demonstrate a few levels, both for you guys and for Iron Balls here. A few runs of it just to show that I don't actually run any direct heals, right? Because Duchess, while she does bring damage reduction, doesn't bring any healing. So let's take a couple of turns here. Obviously, Newt heals himself. We'll take some big hits here with Acrizia. Get an extra turn because she's in Merciless. And then we should get the boss to take a turn. You'll see we took a marginal amount of damage there. But there you go. I'm topped off already on Duchess. Lydia's healed up. My weakest right now is the Owl. We'll go ahead and A1 and boom, I'm all the way healed back up, right? So Leech is a good source of healing. Even on, I don't have time in this video, unfortunately, to go all the way to turn 25 and show you guys the Viper form. But even in the Viper form, I'm telling you guys, like, this is a team that goes all 65 turns with just using Leech. I would probably use Nekmothar. Now, I don't know what gear Nekmothar has on, what speeds they're in. They're in a hex set. That makes sense for Hydra, right? But what Nekmothar brings is increased speed to your team. Very, very valuable. And turn meter fill. That's huge. But then you have decreased speed and leech. 2 very essential debuffs that you need for Chimera. You want to get more turns than the Chimera can in that 65 turn limit, right? So the slower the boss, the more opportunities you get to do a bunch of damage, and then decrease attack on the A1. This boss can hit very hard. Especially certain forms of the boss So we really want to minimize that by utilizing Nekmothar. So I think Nekmothar is kind of the best option, not to mention the passive turn meter as well. Fills this champion's turn meter by 5% each time a debuff on an enemy is removed, transfer, or expires. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but when they change forms, all the debuffs that are on them go away. I don't know if that triggers this passive or not, but I hope that it does. I don't personally have Nekmothar on any of my accounts. The other thing that we're going to need, right, this is not an option, this is a need to have, is going to be a block active skills. And unfortunately, we don't have that many options on the account. Now, the one that I think shows the most promise, Loki is a good option. Loki's a good budget option. You do have block active skills and block buffs, which is another essential buff that we kind of need because the boss will give themselves speed. But the rest of the kit leaves me really wanting more, unless perhaps you try and make Loki your ram tank as well. There is some potential to do that. What seemed more intriguing to me than that, and actually Loki being somewhat built and geared would probably be the best option in the short term, as Countess Lix kind of doesn't have, looks like maybe the best gear, but Countess Lix seems very intriguing to me. When booked, of course, because she has a 75% chance of placing block active skills and reducing the cooldown of all ally skills except her own, right? So that's only going to help our team. That's going to keep our damage dealers having their hardest hitting abilities. That's going to keep our support champions having their support buffs up, right? So that will be a big help. We do get another decreased speed, but that's not really necessary because we are bringing Nekmothar in theory, but it could help in affinity issues, which would be a problem. And then weaken on the A1, not 100%, so, you know, it's not going to go off all the time, but it would help to increase our damage when it lands. Also, quite a bit of turn meter fill for them as well that can contribute in, you know, getting this ability off more often, right? So that was one name that I saw that seemed interesting. So I would say maybe one of these, whichever, you know, Iron Balls feels the most comfortable with, would be worthwhile. I do think that getting the weaken and the cooldown resetting is a little bit better out of Countess Lix than any of the other options that we talked about. Now, where would that kind of fit in? I would probably take out Mad Hatter and would put in, and I probably have to do, because I think they're vaulted. We've got our block active skills, we've got our leech, we've got our turn meter booster, right? Othorion makes a lot of sense, and let's take a look at Othorion's kit here. We have block buffs. I said this is an essential thing. The first form, the ultimate form, places increased speed on themselves, so this gives us the ability to stop that. And this is an enemy max HP champion. We want to be doing a ton of damage. They also scale very well with the passive. Oh wait, sorry, that doesn't work here. I forgot about that. But they're very good champion. Extra turn mechanic in there. Increased accuracy is going to help with some of the difficulties that I've had, even with my Lydia, to be able to land some debuffs on the higher difficulties. So that's going to be pretty good as well. So I think Othorion is a good option here as well. I do like the Thor, but I wanted to look through the roster and see if we have any other kind of boss killers on here that I haven't yet seen. So let's take a look at the roster and see what we got. Okay, so currently we're using Godseeker kind of in a reviver role, a little bit of healing, but really Godseeker's not bringing all that much to this run. I currently run my own Godseeker and it can be kind of frustrating. We have quite a few options. Let's take Godseeker out so we can see the options. Now again, this is a new champion that they don't have leveled yet. They just pulled them recently, but this is Raka Viletide. If we take a look at Raka, would need to get booked as well, but we do get a block debuffs, which is pretty essential on here, and a full team cleanse as well, right? Removes all buffs from all allies, brings increased attack and shield equal to 25% of this champion's max HP. And a little bit of healing on the A1. I would bring Raka because she really brings the revive that you're going to need for this fight. It's very difficult to not die on the ram head. So bringing a reviver is very, very handy. And Raka is a pretty reasonable one with a full team revive, but you can still do the block debuffs instead as well if there are no dead allies. So it comes in quite handy. I would say that a protection set would be very, very important for this champion. Preferably 9-piece, but at least high enough to be able to protect the buffs that are going out so that they don't get stolen by certain heads, or increase the damage of the ultimate form. We've kind of covered a lot of basics of the team, but the next thing that I want to look at is Thor. Is Thor our best damage option here on the roster? I would prefer a really strong boss damage dealer, right? Something in the realm of like a Geomancer, for example, or Ninja I saw on here as well. That's another one. Ninja would also bring a debuff that we don't currently have on this, which is decreased defense on the A1. Now, I would prefer, if possible, to pair Ninja with Lady Mikage, who they recently pulled because they pair so well together off this A1. You're just getting a ton of damage out of your Ninja. It can be kind of frustrating because you're more likely to actually end up killing your Ninja during the Ram form. But for those of you that have ever done the Ram form, really, you're just trying to not die. You're really not trying to push any damage. You could even just, try other abilities or swap over forms if you want. This is not a guide for Chimera. This is more specific about taking over for Iron Balls here, but this is kind of something that I would do. You could do Geomancer. The one issue that I have with Geomancer on Chimera especially is the limited number of turns. You have a lower floor on Geomancer, but a higher ceiling. But a lower ceiling, because he will do more damage than your average bear, but certain champions that can just scale so much higher than him will be able to do so in this game mode, right? So now the big thing kind of comes down to Lydia, right? So if and when Iron Balls gets Lydia, how does that change this team? And this team might not be able to do Nightmare, unfortunately. But how would we be able to improve it? Maybe Othorion actually comes out. While he is enemy max HP damage and a big chunk of that, if you could get Ninja Mikage combo, I would test that combo and see if it's more than Othorion, right? But if Countess Lix was to come out and this became a Lydia, we have our decreased defense, we have our weaken, we have our block buffs, and our block active skills, right? So that is everything that we need all in one package, basically. So maybe Othorion comes out, maybe you get a better champion that can fulfill this role here. I think that Nekmothar is probably one of the best leads that you can have for Chimera. I personally want Nekmothar for that reason, but it can be a little more difficult to fit in your Reviver. So you kind of got to play around with those mechanics and see what work. The most ideal thing, at least for me, is going to be somebody that can scale very well. Enemy max HP damage. Amarius, for example, would be very, very good to go in this slot. Acrisia is what I use in this slot. Newt as well can work very, very well. Sometimes Affinity can be a bit of a pain there, but I do think that there are options for the future. But in the short term, I don't know that we have much more to offer. I think Lydia should be the priority for this account because she just does it all. She is so crucial to my team and how my team functions, and I would highly, highly recommend. I'll have a video, like I said, that'll come out on this at a later time, so I don't want to dive too deep into it, but she does literally everything. I've got my Reviver here. I would take out the Owl and put Nekmothar in, and then I'd have a full team right there. I would be giving up a decreased speed, but I think that's okay. So, wait, no, Nekmothar brings that. Aha. Okay, he does. Sorry, little brain fart there. I had to know. All right, guys, so a tiny little spoiler. This is that video I was telling you about. I've been showing it to Iron Balls here to give him some coaching and some tips on Chimera. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to fit an entire Chimera video into this one. So if you guys want to see this video, let me know in the comments and I'll go ahead and put it out. I've been holding on to it as kind of like oh, I'm sick, I can't record today video, because I'm a little apprehensive about it. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm not the best expert on Chimera, but I am successful at least at doing Nightmare. So, you know, it is what it is. But what I was showing here, and I've got it muted because you can't hear it anyways, is the duel mechanic, okay? So I'm going to hit play here, and you're going to see that Lydia gets targeted by the duel mechanic. Once the boss gets a turn, I think I rewound just a little bit too much. Okay. Boom. There's the duel mechanic, right? So the reason for this is Lydia has my lowest crit damage on the team, which does mean that you need to have a little bit of crit damage on your support, your reviver. You don't want your reviver to be the dual target in this instance. Now, as I mentioned previously, if your block active skill champion is going to be Loki, then Loki, I think, should have the lowest crit damage on the team to make him that target to survive duel. You're not always going to be able to survive duel. In this case, I happen to be able to get lucky enough to survive it. But generally speaking, Lydia dies and I just revive her, but I actually wait until the end of this entire phase to do the revive. So if I fast forward just a little bit, looking at the turn count here. So you'll see on turn 9, you know, people are dead, right? Some of them are still alive. Again, I think I'm doing this on Brutal just for the sake of the video. On Nightmare, my Lydia dies every time, and even my Newt dies. On Nightmare, I would not be surprised if Duchess is my only person alive, and then on turn 10 is when I revive everybody, because I don't want Acrizia to kill herself again, so I don't revive her immediately. I wait until turn 10 to revive her, or else she's just going to go kill herself again, because she does enemy max HP to a reflect damage boss. So just a little bit of a spoiler from that. I'll get more details in that video, so again, let me know in the comments if you guys want to see that. All right, so we're going to move on to Hydra now. We're going to take just a little bit of time. I'm running out of time in the video, but I do want to talk about their main Nightmare team. Now, this is good, right? This is good. We've got well over the minimum damage, right? 73.86 in Hydra Clash terms. That turns into 295 million, so not too bad, right? We're just under 350 million is kind of what we'd like to get to, but maybe we can get that other 60 million out of another key potentially. But I did notice some immediate things that I wanted to go ahead and recommend as corrections for this team. So we're going to take a look at the roster here. And the first thing I noticed was Thor's build. So Thor is running Crushing Rend. Now I want to warn everybody about Crushing Rend. Crushing Rend is not that good unless you're on 6 stars. It's very, very important that you have Crushing Rend when it's on 6 stars. Let me move myself over a little bit. So at 5 stars, the first 2 hits each round will ignore a percentage of the target's defense. However, at 6 stars, every hit will ignore, right? So what you're basically saying is that you get something that works for 2 turns on Hydra and never works again for the remaining 1,000 turns, or 998 turn, right? What you would rather have on Thor as a blessing is actually going to be Nature's Wrath, because this is a scaling ability. Increases the damage inflicted by this champion for every debuff they successfully place, except debuffs placed by gear sets, right? Thor places decreased speed on his A3. So this will build up eventually to 15% extra damage. So that's really what you're going to want to get on Thor more than Crushing Rend. Pretty much anywhere, to be honest with you guys. There is an argument to be made that first attack in the arena, it might be worthwhile for that to ignore a larger percentage of defense, but I personally prefer Nature's Wrath on my Thor. There's probably some areas where we can kind of min-max this team a little bit. So I will move. Okay, we have the team. It's this one right here, guys. So we're still running a Inquisitor, which is good. I honestly think that you might be able to move away from Inquisitor. Now, this is a good combination. It's a very good combination, but Inquisitor doesn't get anywhere close enough to the amount of damage dealing that you would really expect in a Nightmare team. If we look at some of the top teams that we've got, you'll notice we're not really running an Inquisitor. In fact, if you really look carefully, we're not even really doing anything to mitigate the fear at all. It's kind of just something that we suffer through here at the high levels. I haven't run my keys yet personally, but I kind of run the same thing where I'm relying on cleansing and different abilities to deal with the fear. I don't run Inquisitor. This is the lowest damage that we have that is still running an Inquisitor, and they have a 6-star blessing with Crushing Rend, so that damage might scale far better than what we're currently working with down here on Iron Balls' team. So that is one goal, is to find ways to phase out your Inquisitor. Now that could be through the use of different champions like an Elva or a Duchess, for example, where you do it via Perfect Veils, right? Or you just bring a bunch of cleansers, and every so often you might lose a couple of turns, but that's better than losing an entire slot for one mechanic of the fight. So another big issue that I'm seeing here is that we don't have any way of provoking any of the heads, right? That is a real big issue. Now, while it is kind of, there are ways to ignore the fear mechanic, ignoring the provoke part is very, very hard to get away with. And a provoke set is a good option. I personally prefer to bring an actual provoker. And when we looked at the provokes that are on the team, we have some really, really good options, and I wanted to bring those up very quickly. So I don't know his provoke off the top of my head. Let's take a look at it. 100% chance on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. Sorry, provoke on all enemies for 1 turn. And I don't think we'd be bringing any orcs for it, so we're going to ignore that one for the time being. I don't think that one would be worthwhile, but we do have Wixwell. I think Wixwell is one of the better provokers just for this A1 here. We also get Intercept. So what you can do if you're bringing somebody that is a cleanser, for example, or a cleanser, put Intercept on that cleanser. Now you have to be mindful, you might need a high resistance on that cleanser, but if you can keep that cleanser's under Intercept, they will never get feared, and therefore they can take the fear off the rest of your team. So I would put Wixwell in there with a really good support that can cleanse, like Marishka would be a good option for that potentially, and then you don't have to worry about any of the fears. Okay, so what I would do personally would be take out Inquisitor Shamil and put in Wixwell. Now we lose a battery for Nekmothar, which is kind of unfortunate, but I still think Nekmothar is very, very good here, even without the Inquisitor battery. I would use Wixwell. I would put Intercept on Marishka. That way Marishka can cleanse the team, and she makes a very good mischief tank with that Intercept buff, giving her more buffs. You can build her high resist. Most people do for arena kind of anyways. So there's some really good value there. I think that would improve this team quite a bit. Wallmaster is going to do a ton of damage, but now we're not losing any of our debuffs, which is a major problem with the team, because if we don't have a way to provoke that head, all the debuffs that we're stacking up, the decreased speeds, the hexes, the block buffs, that's all going to go away. So we want to make sure we're keeping that stuff up. And I think the best way to do that is to get a provoker in there and ignore the fear mechanic instead of ignoring the provoke mechanic like we're doing right now. So that would be a huge improvement to the team, I think. So those are going to be my recommendations. We are going to run out of time, unfortunately, guys. So I just want to say thank you all for watching. If you guys want to see a follow-up on Iron Balls' account, you guys let me know. I might have a couple recorded. We're going to talk about that here as soon as I'm done with this recording. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys want to see a follow-up on this. If you guys even like this kind of account takeover stuff on this channel. I know it's maybe not the traditional stuff that you would see on other channels, but it's more of a coaching thing. And it might might answer some questions that you have on your account. Either way, thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing. Best way to support the channel. I will see you on the next one. Take care.